it's work. Yeah, sure, it's your business. You have to do it. It's work. You still kind of love it.
Yeah,
like this problem solving is.
It's not even problem solving.
What you're built for.
It's just educational. Like none of these are problems per se. It's just trying to understand how does the system work. That's another thing. That's one of the other pain points.
You may not understand humans or love.
I understand them. I just don't value them.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics. Keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dale Bush.
Like I tried to go into notes like you and I would go into like Notepad to scan a barcode to make sure it works.
Right.
When I scanned it into Notepad, nothing happens, or Notes, nothing happens. It scanned it somehow into Shopify, even though Shopify was not...
Even open?
Well, it was open. It's in the background.
Okay.
But it was a background app. It wasn't actively being used. But the barcode scanner knew that, it goes to Shopify.
So was it starting a transaction?
Yeah, it basically tried to add it to the cart, but the thing I scanned wasn't even something that's in our database.
Oh, okay. While you are experimenting with this new Bluetooth barcode scanner, which is also cordless,
the Socket Mobile S700.
Ooh, but it's just a 1D scanner. I mean, don't get too excited.
Yeah, we didn't want to pay more for the 2D scanner because nothing in our system uses QR codes.
Did you want to try comics? Get the extension specifically. That's what you want to program.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I have, on the iPad, I pulled up their PDF that has all the different barcodes you can scan to program the barcode scanner. That's how you programming it, is by scanning a barcode, and it tells the scanner how to interpret data going forward.
Right.
But then we were going to record a podcast, and so I stopped doing that.
Oh, when are we going to do that?
I don't know, whenever. One of the funny jokes about it, though, is that I think I'd mentioned before that I had to go in and change all the ISBNs and stuff.
Yeah.
Hilariously,
you didn't have to.
I didn't have to. We will have to at some point. But the problem is the very short ISBN, not the full. Not the ISBN 13, but the ISBN 10 is what was in our system. But that's not normally how we scan things. We scan the full ISBN 13 or the 13 plus 5. The default for this barcode scanner is scanning those full barcodes as just the 10.
Well, that's easier. But also... annoying?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I don't know if it's what data we're going to have, like what's going to come in from Managed Comics, GeekFetch. So yeah, we'll see. But I can program it now, probably, after this, to recognize barcodes the way that we expect them to be recognized right now.
You never listen back to these episodes, and I appreciate you starting with that specific piece of business.
Oh, thanks.
Because... that was the bit I chose to be the cold open.
Okay.
It's not the cold open because the cold open is unrelated to the episode and then it leads into the title, then it goes in.
Yeah.
That's the sound clip that I used as the intro.
Was it? Okay.
Was you talking about how long it takes to import, what was it, 7,000 ISBNs?
Yeah. We had to change 7,000 items.
Yeah. So that was last episode's start.
Yeah, and again, hopefully that will be valuable at some point.
But the point is you didn't know that.
I didn't
and now
know
the immediate first thing we're talking about is that.
Yeah.
So that's because I, at my core, knew how important that would be to our changing POS system moving forward. I just had that sense for it.
Our eventually changing POS.
Well, I mean... or hopefully changing POS.
Yeah, I mean...
Do you think people are tired of hearing every week, we're like, yeah, we're going to do it sometime?
It's
not as tired as we are.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of stuff this week where people were more and more chagrined with how Pullbox was letting them down, and we're having a bunch of problems internally with how Pullbox is sending data to us. Or
not sending data to us.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, some of the problem is them sending too much data. We noticed it when we were putting in our last initial order about a month ago, but it's really been a problem the last couple weeks, is that Pullbox decided that for not every publisher, but I think at least DC and Marvel,
and Marvel, yeah,
our two biggest publishers that we order comics from.
And our two most subscription-heavy.
Yep. Pullbox decided to not only pull down subscriptions for all the things that people had added and had on their pulls list, but then duplicate them in the special order field as well. So basically, we ordered the right amount, but as far as ComicSuite is currently concerned, if we have 50 people down for Batman, and 25 of those 50 people are Pullbox users who have Batman on their Pullbox subscription, we have 50 and then 25. So we have 75 people down for it, or 75 pulls for it. And thankfully, we noticed that in time to correct our orders. But in general, that means it's currently, until we start deleting all those duplicate special orders, over-allocating for subscriptions, which then gives us problems where, like, let's say we only ordered 70 copies of Batman. Until we delete those duplicate special orders, ComicSuite thinks that we have 75 pulls and 70 books, which means we have none for the shelf and no more can be added to people's subscriptions. So when we say add it to their subscription, because we haven't deleted those extra copies, ComicSuite's like, well, we can't. You need to order it from the vendor that you're getting it from.
See, that's the thing that I found out last month, because as I was doing these orders, and to recap for people who don't pay attention to ordering, which, why would you?
Why would you?
The orders are done from my home computer in the evening, because it is just too difficult to order while at the store, while you have to stop and do things and ring people up. You need to be in a mindset. You need to be thinking about numbers and subscriptions, and there's a specific data flow that you have to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
And the more interruptions, the more that's going to be off.
Yeah, as someone who does 75 to 80% of the reorders for the week in the last 3 hours of the day Wednesday at the store, from 4 to 7, I hate that so much.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. I'm so ready for that to be over, because you have to keep stopping. Because for us, the way that the device that we're doing our orders on is the register. So every time someone needs to be rung up, thankfully, because that's what helps us keep ordering books, you have to stop doing the ordering, and then you have to go back to that screen and you have to figure out where you were at. And certainly now that we're ordering from vendors outside of Diamond, that means that we not only have to have a window open for ComicSuite, which is where all of our sales data is, but then we have to have a separate window open for Lunar or for PRH or for whomever we're getting our books from. And that's, and then you might also have to have Manager open if you have to go into some of the data to get at more stuff. And then, again, you have to keep tabbing out of that to go back to the register. So the idea of having that stuff, eventually in the cloud, where we can do initial orders, FOCs, reorders from any device. Very excited about that. Very excited.
Yeah, I mean, just doing DC orders, I have to have 3 windows open, one into ComicSuite, one into Lunar's website, and a second one also into Lunar's website.
Yep.
Because when you're doing orders, it doesn't give you all the information you need per title, so I have to have a different window to be able to look up what I ordered previous issues of, say, Batman.
Yeah.
Because it's there on FOCs, it's not there on initial orders,
right.
And it's frustrating how much data you would need that just isn't there. And sometimes I will get confused because the Lunar windows are identical.
Yeah.
And I'll forget which one I'm on. Like, oh no, this is just the generic title one. There's been twice where once I'm like, all right, this is the quantity I need, and I jump back from ComicSuite back into the wrong window. So okay, Nightwing 85, I need 40 copies, type that in, hit enter. That's the wrong screen. I've just added that as a reorder.
Oof, yeah.
But it's in the cart, so I can go back to the cart and delete it.
Easy to find and fix. Yeah,
but it's just, there's too many things, I need Oracle's computer system
kind of, yeah,
to be able to navigate it all.
This past Saturday was the first time I had done
Penguin Random House
Penguin
orders.
Random House
We had done
FOCs.
the podcast before you had done that.
Yeah, I do all the FOCs for Diamond and now PRH on Saturday night.
And I do the DC ones Saturday day.
Yes.
But I start my numbers. I don't mean to cut you off, but my DC process is because it's not... When you do
You
it...
don't trust the ComicSuite numbers for DC, I know.
No, so I literally, on a sheet of scrap paper, write down all of the FOC books for the week, go to the shelf and count quantities and write them all down.
Yeah.
So then I can compare them. Because so often, so often the ComicSuite numbers don't make sense because they add up to numbers higher than what we ordered.
Yeah, we've had a problem almost from day one when DC books started to be received correctly via Lunar through ComicSuite, because that was a thing that for months you couldn't do it. Like, you had to kind of do a backdoor way into ComicSuite to be able to receive that stuff, and even then you were kind of hoping that it was the correct pulls and whatever. When they finally had official functionality to have Lunar as an alternate vendor within ComicSuite and be able to do initial orders and then receive orders when they came in, it started doubling up all of the books. Like, we started seeing if we received 40, ComicSuite would be like, no, you received 80. And it's like,
it would just double what we received.
So then, the percentages that we're selling and all this stuff just wasn't making sense.
None of it matched
Patrick
up.
was doing FOCs, and he'd be looking at a set of data from ComicSuite that said, well, you sold this many copies of Batman, and then he'd go to the shelf and be like, we have way less than that. That's not correct. Or we have way more than that, and that's not correct. So, yeah, it's super frustrating to think that that's eventually where we're going to be with PRH in probably a month. Hopefully we're not using ComicSuite in a month.
I just miss a system that gives me all the information I need on one screen in front of it.
Yeah.
And, honestly, when we were doing everything through ComicSuite, all their FOC data, it's all right there.
Yeah. So
it shows you everything you've ordered, everything you've sold through. Obviously, Lunar can't do that because we don't track
have our sales data.
Yeah.
So, two things. First, my PRH process for doing FOCs, because I'm doing the Diamond FOCs through ComicSuite, and then there's kind of a middle section where it's like, okay, now it's time to do Marvel. So I have to have, remoting into the system Saturday night, ComicSuite open with the FOC screen open, and then I need to have Chrome open with two different tabs for PRH's FOC, like one that's just the FOC cart, and one that's the actual listing of all the FOC stuff, to make sure, not only am I getting all of the data right that we're expecting to see for the orders, but also if there have been any changes, if there have been any new items added. I think this week is the first week that they're going to have stuff like newly announced things like second prints and third prints. So that's stuff that wouldn't have normally been in our system at all, and now we'll have that. It's funny that we're talking about this because another thing people are probably sick of us talking about is what I learned on a Managed Comics Thought stream that I actually watched today.
Okay, so let me jump in
and
just finish a couple of points.
Sure.
From last month when I was doing the initial orders in the late evening and early hours of the morning, when I first noticed the doubling up of the subscriptions and the special orders, what I then did was went through and started deleting all the special orders for anybody who had a subscription to that,
Right.
which wound up being the wrong thing to do because that deleted both of them.
Yeah.
And we realized we have to just let it post and then delete it after the order has been submitted.
That was the problem. So now at FOC each week for the next few weeks, we are, both you and I are at the point where we'll have to look at each item and then go, okay, what of these can we delete? And the problem is there's probably going to be a couple people, I already know, where it's going to be like, hey, I thought I was down for Excalibur. And it's like, you were, but you were down for it as a special order, and it accidentally got deleted. And then we're also having the problem where, because of the way ComicSuite does things, there's basically something can be a subscription, which gets posted each month in the catalog when you add a title to your list, like Batman or Excalibur. But then there's also special orders, where if someone says, I just want Excalibur 24, or I just want Batman 112, that goes in as a special order. The problem is when you delete a series from someone's subscriptions, like, say, Batman or Excalibur...
It does not delete special orders.
Correct. It only deletes things from the subscriptions field. So basically, the problem that we're having with some of this is people who deleted series between when we posted that catalog and when the FOCs happened means, again, I'll use Excalibur because it just happened. If you were down for Excalibur when we closed that catalog, it put a copy of Excalibur in the subscriptions field for you and a copy of Excalibur in the special orders field. You then dropped Excalibur, so when we deleted it from the system, it only deleted it from subscriptions, which means it's still in the special orders field because ComicSuite doesn't know to delete that. That's not how it's programmed to work.
Yeah.
Now when we go to the FOC screen and we're seeing duplicate things, it's easy to go, okay, well, Charlie has one in the subscription field and he also has one in the special order field, so let's just delete the special order one. But if we only see it in the special order field, we kind of assume
that it's a special order specifically for that issue.
Yeah, and if sometimes I can go to someone's account and be like, okay, they didn't sign up for any other issue of this series. Like, they didn't sign up for the next issue or previous issue. So it's like, I feel confident doing this, but there are going to be people who are like, why am I down for Excalibur this week? I deleted this 2 months ago, and it's like, because the system's broken, and I wish we weren't using it anymore. It's so bad now. I mean, we had definite problems with it during the initial Lunar setup because Diamond was so flat-footed that it took them months to figure out how to even make that work with a system that literally was not designed to work with alternate vendors. And I know for a fact we lost a subscriber because he was sick of, he subscribed to a book. ComicSuite did not do it correctly because we were getting it through DC, and it was a book that was initially ordered through Diamond, but then only released through Lunar. And then when he came in, it's like, okay, well, we don't have that cover anymore, and we can't get that cover anymore. And, like, literally a week later, he's like, he came up with some fake reason.
Oh, yeah, but he outright lied.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be moving away, and it's harder to do it. And then we found out, no, you're literally going to the closest shop to us.
Yeah, no, what he said was, it's too expensive. He's spending too much money on comics.
Yeah. But then also gave us this, like, weird cutoff date where he's like, I'll do it for the next 2 months. Like, he was doing us the favor. And then we realized, no, a local store will not order books for you unless you do it on initial order, which is in 2 months. And
also, this is going to sound horrible.
Uh-huh.
I don't miss that subscriber.
Yeah, unfortunately true. But still, it's a thing where we were lucky there were not more people who decided that they didn't want to shop with us. We've already had someone who I feel like we were close to losing who was very, very angry about how Pullbox was screwing things up for him. And, like, I get it. I totally get his consternation. Had asked us specifically, please remove me from Pullbox. I don't want to deal with it anymore. We have another subscriber who almost every month is like, I don't want to use the system anymore. Can I just give you a list of what I want? And then somehow keeps using it and finding things. So I don't know. I mean, I've said before that Pullbox is maybe not as problematic as we feel like it is. It feels like a lot of people have problems, but it could just be a thing where like 10 people out of 100 have problems. Is 90% effectiveness okay?
I guarantee you there are people who listen to this who use Pullbox and who say, I've never had a problem.
And so some of it, and this is an overall problem with how subscriptions work in a very complicated marketplace now. If you are someone who's just like, I literally just want to get these 10 books from Marvel every single month, the A cover, you will never have a problem with a subscription management service. Ever.
But also, you don't even need it for that.
Well, but if you're like, I don't want to miss these books, I want to know they're waiting for me, that is the easiest type of subscription, and every program can use it. The problem is there's a lot of people now, and I don't blame them necessarily for this, because this is just how the market shifted, and this is how publishers decided they wanted to monetize things. Once you start getting into things with alternate covers, and just today on the Managed Comics Thought stream, someone had said, how is Managed Comics going to work if someone, and this is a thing where after this podcast I'll have to write Brian an email because I don't think he 100% got what the question was, because it was sort of unusual to him.
Yeah.
One of the biggest problems with how to do a subscription management service is, let's say someone wants to make sure they get Excalibur every month.
A lot of people like Excalibur.
But they want a different Excalibur cover some months.
Right.
There could be anywhere between 2 and 5 covers of Excalibur, depending on what's going on in the storylines. And some months they're just going to want the A cover. Machman Asteroid, they like it, great, we're good. Some months there's a really good B or C cover, and they're like, I want that one instead. So basically you need a system where it's always ordering Excalibur for them, but every single month they have the option of saying, I don't want the A cover, I want the C cover. But they don't want to subscribe to the C cover, because next month they might not want the C cover, they might want the B cover. And those problems are, like, even ComicSuite and Pullbox, which we thought had a sort of elegant solution for it by letting people in the initial order window before the catalog closes go in and say, no, okay, this hasn't been submitted to the store. This is just telling me as a consumer, here's what you're going to get out of this catalog. And I can go, no, I don't want this out of this catalog for whatever reason. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And then I can add on as a special order this other cover for this book. So there's a safety net where I'm always going to at least get the A cover until I say, no, I want the B or C cover. Even that we'd have problems with where for some reason, for certain subscribers, and I don't know if they're doing it wrong or if Pullbox is screwing it up or whatever, but I have to go in every month and say, no, the subscriber specifically told us they're never going to want 2 covers. So if I see the A and the C cover for a book, they don't want the A cover, and now I have to delete it after we've already ordered it and it's coming in that week, and that's why I notice it. So yeah, you have to have essentially a really complicated system of checks and balances, because you're not just doing a thing where I only want Excalibur A cover or I only want Batman B cover every month. You're doing things where you have to give people these options, because a lot of the people who are subscribing to things are subscribing because they want specific covers. That's what's motivating them. Like you said, if you're only getting 10 Marvel comics a month, maybe you don't even need a subscription service.
Right.
It's not motivating for you anymore. Unless you're terrified you're not going to be able to get Amazing Spider-Man for a week.
What we mean is you don't need a subscription program.
Yeah.
You still want the service. You still want your books being held.
Yeah, and
you just don't want to have to
go
in every week. The Dow plan of every month you fill out the catalog.
I really want that. That's a thing where, I mean, you look at we've been using Pullbox for about a year now. Is that right?
Sounds right to me.
Maybe. For a while. For at least 9 months of this calendar year. And we have offered it to subscribers for the entire time. Like about a month after we started using it, we're like, I think we can do this. I would say overall, there's a lot of subscribers that have asked to add it or to have access to it. I'd say maybe 40 or 50 subscribers maybe have access to it. I guess I could look it up.
You can look it up.
Now.
Sure.
It's harder to go into Diamond's website on my phone because
it's just that there was a
a
long period of time where the invites were clogged and weren't sending out.
Yeah, I mean, we've had...
Let's not forget that.
We've had any number of problems over the years with the old Pullbox. But the active number of people who go in each month, order stuff in the catalog, change around their pre-orders and stuff, it's not that many. There's a lot of people who have access who don't do anything with it. And again, most people wouldn't. Like, as much as we try to actively engage with our customers, because the kind of downward spiral of most comic shops is, again, the people who just get the same 10 Marvel comics every month. Because eventually...
You got to refresh that. You got to find something new. You got to add things.
Yeah, I mean, on 2 levels. Like, on a basic publishing level, the idea that those 10 are going to be published forever, not great. Every 6 months, one of those is probably going to drop off the list. Creators are going to change, books going to get canceled, whatever.
Yeah, you kept using Excalibur as an example, and who knows where that'll be in 2022.
Exactly. But then you've also got, just as a comics fan, you don't want to be in the position, you will get tired of some of these books. They will wear out their welcome with you, and you need to figure out...
As I've always said, never buy a series due to attrition.
That's a good point.
Just because...
Do you mean inertia?
I guess. Just because you've always been buying it, don't keep buying it. Buy it because you like it. Is that inertia?
Yeah, that's inertia.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go to...
I've always said attrition.
Yeah, that's not right.
Okay. Well, you learn something.
Previous Pullbox. Let's see how many customers we have. Patrick, knowing how large our subscription service is...
Yes.
How many...
Dal just flashed me a number after I already said yes. I know the number.
Okay. That was for the people listening.
So you could hear maybe the air around your hand as you motioned and made that 3-digit number.
How many active accounts do you think we have on Pullbox?
Now, is there a difference between people signed up and people who use it?
Yeah, by active, I'm using Diamond's term active, which basically means has a currently active account. Doesn't mean they've used it, just means that they are have signed up for the service.
So I think that...
and it's all opt-in. I want people to know that. We did not push everybody onto Pullbox.
Not at all.
You had to say, I want to do this.
Before I guess, I will say that the value of Pullbox for also the subscribers and us, why did I say also? For the subscribers, but also for us, has been great because the people that use it. Yeah. They are archaeologists. They dig through that catalog. They unearth things.
We had somebody, not someone I know who shops at the store, who signed up, because you can sign up, I think, through Pullbox's site. You can say, hey, I'm in this area, and Pullbox will say, hey, here's a store, and they can submit a request to be a subscriber, and you can accept them or decline them. We accepted. This guy has only gone through Diamond's very large catalog of books and added Stargate comics from anywhere between 3 and 10 years ago.
Things that we cannot get.
And each one I have to kick back. I'm like, it's sold out. Hasn't signed up for a title. Every couple of days is like, how about this Stargate book? It's like, none of them.
And you would think that
and I don't know who you are.
those shouldn't be in Diamond System to begin with. Like, they shouldn't be able to order them because it doesn't exist.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's positives and negatives to Diamond's robust data set of older books. People can and have found things where it's like, yeah, we can actually still get that. Or, oh, they want this graphic novel, and they just found it in the catalog. But yeah, frequently we have people finding things where it's like, man, that was a variant that came out 8 years ago. There's no way we can get that. Or that's a graphic novel from a publisher that no longer exists or whatever.
Okay, my guess is 62.
The actual number of active subscribers is 89 on Pullbox.
Whoa, my original number was going to be 72, but I thought that was too high.
So that's a pretty good adoption rate. Again,
Yeah,
those are
that's,
people who opted
that's-
in.
Right.
Wow. That said, I mean, I can look at pre-order items, maybe. I don't usually look at this like side of it. We don't go through the Pullbox
The consumer
side
facing.
the Pullbox side of the retailer site for Diamond, because all that data exists for us on our local system.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't necessarily need to do that. Yeah, hard to say.
While you're looking that up, I will say that...
It's already kind of timing out, so I'm
Okay.
done with it. But yeah, I think it's probably less than half of that number actively each month going in
Yeah.
and adding things and dropping things and making changes. And of that, like, half of that number probably are the sort of variant cover consumer where we're going to have gaps and flaws and things are going to get missed or whatever because of the way the system, the logic of it works. Hopefully, Managed Comics, I was watching it today, they had stuff. They were already kind of showing off how some of, like, they're
Oh,
just,
showing off, are they?
they're just now adding some stuff where, again, this would be a thing I'm like, this is a day one thing we need to have if it's a consumer-facing subscription management thing. And that's, like, if you go to Batman 113, you can sign up for it as a series, or you can add it as an issue, or you can add a series for the variant, or you can add the series for the variant and a copy of the main cover or whatever. Like, there's a lot of new options you can have as far as that sort of stuff. And
I want them to level up and be able to do... I just want to add this storyline.
maybe at some point.
Click Fear State.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I think...
I'm kidding. I never expect that to be a
That's,
a
I think, a
feature.
thing that they're working on.
Okay.
Or I don't know if they already do it or they're planning on
That
working on
also would never be a day one thing for us.
Anyway, to wrap up the Managed Comics stuff, good news, bad news part. Good news, Brian was showing off the initial order screen, and it honestly sounds like exactly what you were complaining about, that you don't have access to anymore. Where,
great.
You know, here is a cover.
Brian, you're in my head, and I love it.
Here is a cover, here is a description, here is a price point, here's what you've ordered before, here's what your subscriptions are, here's how many you want for the rack, and then it extrapolates out a number. And you can do that by different publishers. Bad news...
It's only in Braille.
It's basically in like a pre-alpha state where he's basically worked up like, here's what it should look like when I give this to the programmers who have not started programming it yet.
I see. Well, I imagine his programmers are good and fast, and he'll have this done by Thursday.
Incorrect. It's currently scheduled to have within a month.
Okay.
The good news is that basically puts it in right before when the next catalog will be due, and that's fine for us.
Okay.
Like, we won't do another initial order until...
Yeah, this whole weekend
late October
is when I'm doing, and I feel it's a little early, but
it's not.
Yeah,
it's
but
due Thursday.
No, but I mean, I think it's due early.
It is due early. It absolutely is due early.
That's what I was saying.
Oh, I thought you meant
we're
like
not.
you were
We're not.
starting
No,
early.
no.
I'm like,
no. I feel like we should have another week on this. Yes, but we don't.
Yeah. I wonder why that happened. I'd have to go back and look and see when the last catalog dropped.
to be fair, this isn't a thing they sprung on us. When we get the Diamond calendar every year, it already goes through every month and says, here's when the orders are due, so we know, but we can't do anything until Pullbox closes.
Yeah, that's a huge problem that's fundamental to Pullbox, is that the special orders, we already pulled down subscriptions because we had to, because something was broken in it, and they needed to do that to make sure
which,
DC didn't
ironically,
keep
I went to
breaking.
do that right before I went to record. I'm like, wait, it usually takes like 20 minutes. It did it in like 30 seconds today.
Yeah, according to Diamond, the reason why we were having problems where DC books were not posting to people's accounts correctly was because we had not input the DC subscriptions, which is a thing that we were told from Pullbox that we were not supposed to do that until the catalog closed on the consumer side. Because, again, that's how you can get problems where someone has made an alteration, but
And it
you've
hasn't
already
adjusted, yeah.
added it to their account in your local system. But I guess that's just going to happen this time. The alternative is no one could add any DC stuff, and that's not good.
They couldn't the first 2 weeks of this month anyway.
Yeah, I hate that so much that you can't really do your initial order until the catalog closes, so to speak. And that's that gives us a very small window of time to work on it.
And also, we are recording this a day earlier than normal because we both have busy weekends.
Very busy weekends.
And some store-related, some not store-related, but also ultimately store-related.
Today was store-related. It was a day off.
That's another thing where we talk about this often where, we've set days off and blah, blah, blah. And I was going to get into a whole other exploration of how the changes in the supply chain are actually affecting stores and our store now, where people seem to not notice it until it affects them. But anyway, this was another instance where we realized months ago that because Southern Hobby doesn't deliver anymore, and we get the majority of our supplies from them, and they're out in Glendale Heights, that we could take a day and run out there and load up the car and buy a bunch of stuff. And we don't like buying in bulk, but shipping boxes and boards is expensive.
Yeah.
And also, cardboard, which is both of them, is something that is rare.
Yeah. Now,
So it's harder to, for example, I don't know if it was March or April, we went in on a box order with BCW with Dark Tower. Mm-hmm. Still hasn't shown up yet.
Nope.
It was due July and then September.
Yep.
And it's just, that's how hard it is for them to make boxes. Fine, Southern Hobby makes boxes. I don't like their boxes as much, and we did order a ton from BCW for as long as those last.
Right.
But it's like, all right, we planned every couple of months we're on to Southern Hobby. Now it's every couple of weeks.
Yep.
We did it last month. We had to do it today.
Yep.
And it was just for two things.
Yeah.
Just for current boards and
Long boxes.
short boxes.
Short boxes.
That was it.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason we had to go out there and fill up the car.
Yeah. And it filled up a car.
Yeah. Well, that's because we're going out there and making it worth our while.
Yeah.
And then even now it's like, we could have gotten more boards. But we're not out of bags, but we're at a point where we can see the end of our bag supply. So I'm like, fine, I'll order some more. Can't
get it from anywhere.
Remember a few months ago or actually several months ago, where we were like, we can't find bags, and we were going to buy them from China, but we needed to buy, pallets to be shipped over to make it worthwhile. And then it's like, we found these sources.
And the joke is, if we'd gone with the Chinese one, shipping crates are so expensive now that the idea of the shipping cost might have been triple to 10 times what they actually quoted us, and then it'd be like, we would have to sell these bags for
$200.
$1 a single bag, basically. Yeah. Oh no.
So all of the alternate bag sources we found, they're out. They're out of current bags.
Yeah.
And that's not, that's, the regular supply chains are exhausted. These were our backups. They're both done. They're empty of current bags. So we were able to, through two different distributors, place an order. I was going to say restock. We haven't gotten them yet. Place an order for magazine bags, Golden Age bags, and Silver Age bags, because those are ones that we are running low on. Mm-hmm. In the months that it's been since we've ordered, and the last time we had a change to these distributors, we had to raise all our prices. We have to raise the prices again because the prices just keep going up.
Yep.
And it's not just bags, but it's bags. And this is the kind of thing where we hate having to be like, remember a year and a half ago you were buying these bags, they were $3 cheaper per 100? That's what they cost now.
Yeah.
Today we got in new Marvel Legends, the Age of Apocalypse Series 2 Colossus Build-A-Figure wave. I think it's a strong wave. I think they're all good figures.
Yeah, that Rogue figure's pretty cool.
But our cost per figure bumped up $1.50 per figure from when they had bumped up. Well, not recently, but we had recently had to up our prices. We just had to up them again by $2 more.
Yeah,
and that's we're paying an extra $1.50 per figure. We're only raising the price by $2.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, that covers it, and it's 50%. So that's not the way that markups work.
No, yeah, it basically means it has become slightly less profitable for us to carry Marvel Legends figures despite raising our prices.
And these, we went and picked up. If they'd shipped them to us,
oh my God, even
we'd be
less
losing
profitable.
more money.
Be losing at least another $1 a figure.
And we hate it. And we talked about, like, hey, what we should charge for this is insulting to the customer. And like you had pointed out that nobody would want to buy those for what we should charge for them.
Yeah.
And there's no end in sight.
There's really not. It's going to be a real rough end of 2021, I think. I don't know if people are really prepared for what this holiday season is going to look like
They're not.
as far as shortages
We're not.
and increased costs
For the number
up and
of
down the supply chain.
Other retailers that are like, hey, you guys got to order, like, start ordering heavy now. We can't because we're relying mostly on initial orders and new product that'll be.
And some of it is, like, you guys got to start ordering more. From who? Everyone's out of stock.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to get?
We had a club member ask for top loaders, and I had to say, top loaders don't exist anymore. Like, that's not entirely true. It's just nobody has them. You can't get them. We've been out of them for like a year.
Yeah.
And that's every size, whether it be for Pokemon cards, comic books, larger format magazine size, or the original art size.
Yeah.
All of those. All
of
those sizes. You can't get them.
Nope.
And then they said, like, oh, I guess I'll look online. I'm like, hey, if you find them, let me know, because we need to buy them too. They're just, it's one of those things that, as much as we talk about how the supply chain is like, the links are just crumbling.
Yep.
You don't realize it until it affects you.
Yeah.
And then even there's a point where there's still people, good people who shop with us regularly, who just think that it's our failing.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I don't want to say it's the
not
worst
the
part.
industry.
But it's the part that's the most frustrating to me is kind of struggling to make it clear to people, like, we are doing our best. If we could, like, the manga situation, the supply situation, all this stuff, like, if we could get them from anywhere, we would. This is the thing where they physically don't exist in the world. The manufacturers do not have them to sell us. There is no fix for this beyond they have to make more and then get them from another country where they made them to us. And that is a long process these days. It's a real long process. And it's frustrating because there's almost no way to make it clear to people without sounding incredibly defensive. But it's like, this is so many times a day for me.
It's soul crushing is what it is.
Is people coming in and looking for something and us not having it. And it's like, this isn't something I can fix. We don't have it. We can't get it. When is that going to change? I have no idea. And the few times where I'm actually like, oh my God, a sigh of relief almost, is when someone calls in and we go through this and they're like, yeah, you're like the 7th store I've called and no one's got it. And it's like, that's it. That's
why.
Is it clicking through? Are you seeing the connection now? Like, it's not that these stores all suck. It's that the product isn't there for them to have. Like, you can almost hear the light go on, and it's like, this is it. Like, this person has figured out, wow, this is a bad situation, and it's nothing that is the store's fault.
We had a comic professional want to order a book that they had worked on that came out a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
And
it's one they've gotten from us before.
Right. And yeah, that's his point. They've gotten it from us before. So they called to reorder some more, and Dal had to say, sorry, it's out of stock. You can't get it from Diamond. So then they called back and said, oh, well, somebody told me it's available through Prang Random House. And you're like, it's not. I checked. And they're like, well, you know, that's somebody said it. They had it. And it's weird that you can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we can't find it. It's that it's not there.
Yeah.
That's the thing with anything. Things sell out. I'm sure you've gone to the grocery store for eggs, and it's like, oh, they're out of eggs right now. Like, okay, they'll have eggs later. Or hopefully. This is a situation where there's no chickens. They can't make these eggs.
Yeah.
Like nothing is infinite.
Well, graphic novels are a weird thing where I think people, because of the way that graphic novels don't have a collectability aspect associated with them, you know, soft covers and hardcovers, people have this expectation of like, well, they just keep making them. They're always making them. Like, the idea that, like, Akira Volume 1 might be hard to get for a little while because a publisher sold out because it's incredibly popular right now, or, you know, every goddamn Marvel graphic novel ever made because Marvel can't figure out how to keep anything in print when it's the most in demand. These things are unavailable. Like, they have run out, and a publisher may or may not go back to press on them. Even if you're like, but it sells great, like, then there might be some other thing that's compounding why it's not available right now. And a lot of it is way further up the supply chain. It might need a special coating that they can't get for the book right now. It may be that the printer is overbooked and doesn't have time to slot in a sudden reprint. Like, the publisher may have to schedule that, and it may be way further down the calendar than they would want. Above and beyond that, again, just getting it from one country to another, because a lot of this stuff is printed in another country than America. So getting it on a boat, and then getting that boat unloaded, and then getting the stuff that's unloaded from the boat on a truck to a warehouse to be distributed across the country.
Especially right now when transportation jobs are plentiful, but there's nobody willing to take them.
That's the hard thing to sort of explain to people is there is not one failure point in the supply chain. There are like 6. And it's like switches, where like, okay, you fixed switch 3, so that's on, but now switches 2 and 4 are off. Okay, you got 2 and 4 on, now 1, 5, and 6 are off. It's like, there's always something that's going on right now because of everything going on in the world over the last 18 months. Like, it's difficult to predict, and it's difficult to keep a supply chain going. Like, there have been fits and starts. We have these months where it's like everything's running great again, and then, the Delta variant, or, a natural disaster or something, and it's just like some ICV2 had brought up, I think ICV2, maybe it was someplace else, had brought up Texas had a power grid failure because of a snowstorm, an unexpected freeze, and that led to petrochemical plants not running for a number of weeks, and that led to a backup, which led to plastics not being created. So people who were expecting that stuff to be produced and had timelines like that didn't happen now.
Also, plastics are what the other comic supplies are made of.
Yeah.
It's cardboard or plastic. That's
Pretty
it.
much.
Petroleum-based products, paper-based products.
Yeah. So, yeah, it still manages to be incredibly frustrating. Like, it's one thing for comics, where it's like, I'm sort of used to the idea of trying to impart to people, hey, they did one print run and it sold out, and maybe there'll be a second print, or maybe there'll be a collection on the line. But now it's like, the stuff that people think of as perennial, like supplies and graphic novels, even that we're having to say, like, no, we don't have it, and we don't know when we're going to get it, and here are the reasons why. And I'm as tired of talking about this as people are of hearing about it.
It's like a concert ticket, If 10,000 people want to go to, I don't know, let's say the Wintrust Arena, to see an event, and there's 10,000 tickets,
The Pub Blue Demons.
Great. If 15,000 people want to go, there's only 10,000 tickets.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that people don't expect for their perennials. And I just mean in general, food, entertainment,
right.
things that
going back to
granted. Like if there was a gas
toilet
shortage.
paper, like you'd said before, like you expect to just go to the grocery store in America and there's toilet paper.
Yeah.
You just buy it. And then when there are shortages, when it, like you said before, affects you, suddenly it's like, wait, the system isn't working right.
Yeah.
You were aware of it as a concept, but you weren't aware of it as a reality. And this is a reality.
We have been running Challengers together for over 13 and a half years. Mm-hmm. Never have we had to try so hard to stock the same things we've always carried. Never had we had... Why can't I say that phrase? Never have we had as many accounts with as many suppliers and distributors as we do now, and it's still never enough.
And it's a lot of shortages. Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating to have what will soon be 3 different distributors we can check for Marvel graphic novels, only to be like, none of them have it.
Right.
And none of them are getting them back in.
It's like the bags.
Every time I see a yellow light on a Marvel graphic novel on Diamond Site, and a yellow light means like, we are definitely getting more of this from the publisher.
You scream at the top of your lungs, liar.
You're a liar. You're just a goddamn liar. Because I know you're not. Because we have placed back orders for those items. A yellow light again means we are definitely getting more in, and then we've had those orders get canceled by Diamond because they're not coming back in. Marvel's not giving you any more of those epic collections.
Here's a great fun little tidbit for next week's Lunar Books.
Uh-huh.
One of the books that's coming out is Batman: The Adventures Continue, Season 2, number whatever.
Right.
Which we've had issues with the previous one, so our numbers aren't even great on this one.
Mm-hmm.
On the invoice, it's the A and B cover.
Uh-huh.
In the boxes, just the B cover. Most stores, not all stores, most stores are just getting the B cover.
Okay.
And DC didn't even know this. It's because there was a shortage at the printer, and Lunar just sent out everything without it.
Funny.
So we'll be getting the A cover the following week, because it's already on the next week's
Which
invoice.
is like the only one we order for the shelf,
Right.
if any at all.
But hilariously, retailers are starting to complain because people have started getting their Lunar books ready,
Because there was no advisory from the publisher.
Right.
By the way, B covers are coming in 1 week. A's
And they're
the
like,
next week.
hey, DC reps, what's the deal? They're like, we don't know. We'll have more information tomorrow. And in that time period, more people are like, well, when are we going to know? What is it? What is the deal? It happened to us too. And I just
also,
feel,
there's no DC reps.
I mean,
They don't know anything.
Right.
There's no one in that company
But I mean,
doing that job
The
anymore.
two people we get emails from are the two people who are constantly badgered for information that they don't know.
Sure, because DC used to have an actual apparatus within their company that dealt with those things, and they don't, and this is what happens. Like, it's... Hopefully Marvel won't have this problem, because they didn't build a distributor, they picked a distributor. So, like, Penguin Random House can do a lot of the consumer-facing, and by consumer-facing I mean, like, retailer-facing.
Yeah.
Aspects.
Because we're their consumers.
Yeah, we're the end... We're not the end user, but we are the customer of Marvel Comics more than anyone who shops at our stores. Penguin Random House can do that part of it, which is why 3 weeks before Penguin Random House officially distributes Marvel comic books and graphic novels to North American accounts, Marvel already stopped doing the Marvel mailer.
Yeah.
That's Penguin Random House's job now.
Yep.
So whoever job that was at Marvel to put that together, that is someone else's job. And I feel like DC felt like they could do that with Lunar. Like, just we'll have Lunar do it. Lunar's not set up to do that. Lunar doesn't know how to do that. Lunar doesn't have all the information. Whatever Marvel is giving Penguin Random House is actually actionable data. A lot of times Lunar will just get stuff and, yeah, they just send it out. There you go. DC didn't tell them the important part, or DC didn't convey a crucial detail, because there's no one at DC to do that anymore.
They're too busy thinking of new Batman comics.
Yeah. Stuart Schreck landed a new job. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that. I was going to say, like, we can talk through
Diamond Comic Distributors.
where he works in purchasing.
He's in the purchasing department
Yeah.
now.
I was getting to that. You stepped all over it.
Sorry, bud.
So Adam Phillips opened his own company. Fletcher has something that he hasn't announced yet. Vince is at Dynamite.
Yeah.
Stewart's at Diamond. And I think best for Stewart, he can do that job in LA. Like, he doesn't have to move to... He doesn't have to
I mean,
move
none
to-
of them are in the office right now, as far as I know. At
Yeah.
least, like, all the ComicSuite techs we talked to, everyone's working from home.
Yeah, it's still looking like that as a thing for a while.
Yeah, more and more people that shop at Challengers have been telling us that their offices are telling them no one's coming back till 2022 now.
Just looking at all the mask mandates around, I got the Alzheimer's 5K this weekend. By the way, if when this goes up, it'll already have happened.
Too late.
I was going to do one last pitcher donations,
No funding.
because I didn't really do a whole lot of that this year. But
You said a few
even
years
though,
ago that was your big...
well, that was the big one. But I mean, I can still mention it.
It's true. I'll allow it.
Thank you for your generosity and your
welcome.
donation.
That's my donation, is
Yeah.
letting you
Talk about it.
promote it
What
on,
I can't.
on my podcast.
What is too late to do anything. Yes, your podcast. Which is exactly why you said it that
That's
way.
why I'm on every episode.
Are there any episodes that I mean, we used to trade off in like the first 15 or so.
Yeah. There was one back in time where it was the BotCon episode, I think.
Oh, right.
That
yeah.
I did road reports and just gave you those and you just plugged them in.
Yeah, I still had to do it.
You did. You had to do the editing on it, but you didn't. I don't think you appeared on it, or maybe
No.
you did.
No. I remember
There's been episodes I think you've done from your bed. I think.
there was one. It was called An Update of Pain, which I always wanted the original Serpent Crown album to be called Dead of Pain, but it was called In Harm's Way, so it was close enough.
Close enough.
Anyway, getting way off topic, and I literally forgot. Oh, yeah, the Alzheimer's 5K. So they keep saying things like, it's recommended you wear a mask even though it's outside. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'll wear a mask. But most people I know who are going, they're like, I'm not going to wear a mask. It's outside. Okay, you do what you want. I'll wear my mask. That's fine. That's fine. We obviously don't have it nearly as bad in Chicago as a lot of states do for that kind of thing. But I wanted to mention before, I had shown Samantha Challenger the Shopify interface, and she immediately loved it. And she's somebody who works in training for people who are in IT customer service for one of them their Cash App type things.
Yeah.
And, like, she understood it immediately. I don't even understand it.
It's pretty straightforward.
But that made me think, like, oh, okay, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to have a hard time adopting it. I think for us, the pain points are probably going to be specifically how subscriptions get populated in.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing that Brian even showed off today, and it was like, I don't know if this is answering my question. Like, the big thing for me is, like, each week when you receive an invoice, or I guess anything, Manage Comics creates a draft order in Shopify that pulls out basically subscription copies from your inventory and creates purchase orders. There you go.
So those items aren't even allotted for on the shelf.
Right. So, like, if you get 50 copies of Batman and 30 go to your subscribers, 20 copies are in your Shopify store, 30 are in draft orders.
So there's
for
30 separate
subscribers.
draft orders for that book.
Well, in theory, it's everything you get off of an invoice.
Sure.
So
okay.
you might, if someone gets 5 DC books in a week, there'll be a draft order with 5 DC books.
Yeah.
But my understanding currently is that it's each invoice, each receiving, creates a different draft order. So if you get 3 receivings in a week, Penguin Random House, a Lunar, a Diamond, it's going to create 3 different draft orders. I don't understand yet because I haven't really seen it in practice because we don't have Managed Comics yet to use. Can you pull all 3 draft orders into one transaction? And Brian was supposed to tell me the what he's using to pull in draft orders, so I'll probably just pick something myself and try it out. Because if it's a thing where I can do that, if I can just go to Patrick Brower's account and then here's 3 open draft orders and I can go, okay, this one in and then go back to add the second one, then go back, add the third one, and then here is a cart with everything that was in your subscription box that you've received for the week, regardless of it being from 3 different draft orders, that's great. What I do not want is to find out that, you have to do each one at a time, because then every single person who comes in, I got 3 different transactions I got to do.
How do you know?
That would drive me insane.
How do you know how many draft orders are open for one person? Like, how would you know?
That's the thing. I have to get a plugin for our Shopify POS that allows us to pull in draft orders. Then I have to start creating fake ones
to be able
for
to
me
see.
to play around with it, to be like, how does this work? Does this work how I think it's going to work?
I did mention this last week, but for all of this physical work, all of this time that you were taking to do this, which is all off hours, all while you're not at the store,
pretty much,
and it's still work. Yeah, sure, it's your business. You have to do it. It's work. You still kind of love it.
Yeah,
this is the problem. Like, this problem solving is.
It's not even problem solving.
What you're built for.
It's just educational. Like, none of these are problems per se. It's just trying to understand, how does the system work. That's another thing. That's one of the other pain points.
You may not understand humans or love.
I understand them. I just don't value them. That's one of the other pain points, is sort of figuring out, like, the behind the scenes aspects of it. Of, like, when you're receiving stuff, where is it going? How does, like, I kind of vaguely understand how things like initial orders and FOCs are going to work, but when we're receiving stuff, where is it finding stuff? How do we do things like reorders? How do we do things like allocating special orders when people want something that we don't have, but we want to order it for them? And how do we make sure that then gets pulled for them when the order comes in? Like, that's stuff that we know how to do now for ComicSuite, and we've known for years, but some of those details I don't know yet. And the anxiety is, I don't know if those exist in Managed Comics yet. Like, those may be processes where it's like, there's literally no way to do that. And it's like, well, then what is our day one solution for that until that gets added to the system somewhere down the line? But some of it is probably just stuff where it's like, I just didn't think to go to this part of Shopify to do that. Because you've got your Shopify POS and you've got Managed Comics, it's a plugin, but then you've also got Stocky that's a plugin that's doing things to the inventory.
Stocky still makes me chuckle.
You love it. Which I haven't started using yet. So yeah, there's all these things that we're still, unfortunately, in this very nebulous area of migration between ComicSuite and Shopify. And so, we're getting we're learning the parameters of it a little bit more as we work with the hardware, and we're working with the Shopify POS software and figuring out what we need to add to it. But really, until we get, a Managed Comics added to it, which next week now it sounds like we may get a date where it's going to be available. I would love it by the end of September, but that feels slightly optimistic. I would love to be wrong. Again, my dream has been for the last few weeks as it was becoming clear that the initial launch date of Managed Comics 2.0 was not going to happen. That there would be an ability to onboard more stores, including us, by the last Monday in September. That would be great. Don't know if that's going to happen. That we may miss that target by a couple weeks, which would be a shame. That would really be a shame.
Yeah, but if it's for the benefit of the program,
for sure. I mean, there's again, like, the reason we wouldn't be able to do it isn't like they didn't think to mention it to us. It's more that it's not ready to go,
and they're working on making it better every day.
Yeah. So again,
every day I wake up and think, we are one day closer.
Yeah. So as always,
Managed Comics in Geek Fetch.
I complain, or I maybe not complain, but there's, I sound a little frustrated, but it's
because you want it so bad.
Yeah. I don't blame anybody involved.
It's only 100 days until Christmas, Dal.
I saw that today.
We will have Shopify Managed Comics before Christmas.
I got an email about that. I can't remember from who. Oh, MSI told me today it's 100 days till Christmas, and I thought, man, it is September 16th. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't tell me how close I am to Christmas.
Is MSI having a Christmas exhibit?
I think they put trees up and stuff. They usually decorate for Christmas. I've gone later in the year some years.
Do you go to Forests every year?
I don't. I actually do go to MSI every year. I was going to say, I don't go to MSI every year. I have. I've gone every year. I've gone multiple times this year.
And will again.
Going tomorrow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Busy weekend for Dal. Yeah. So much culture.
My mom's in town. Or will be.
Dal's going to...
When people hear this, my mom will be in town.
That's true. Yeah. That's one of the reasons that this weekend is so busy, because patron Diane Bush is in town.
She is.
She'll visit her grand store.
Jesus.
He won't be there. So I did the immersive Van Gogh exhibit this Monday. Mm-hmm. You're doing it this weekend.
I am doing it this Saturday.
Yeah. We did the Marvel MSI exhibit in April. Mm-hmm. You're doing it again you did it in July. You're doing it again this weekend.
Yeah, true.
I saw Anne Boleyn on Monday.
I'm not seeing Anne Boleyn this weekend.
That's honestly your loss.
I suppose.
I mean, they're not in this area either. But it's also a year ago that I got out of the hospital from my leg surgery.
Hey, congrats!
And I don't know if people could hear the pencil tapping that I've been doing this episode, but I'm doing it on a point in my leg where it's all just nerve damage, and I feel nothing.
Cool.
I know I'm moving the pencil with my hand, but there's nothing that I don't feel that.
That's awesome.
Right?
That's great news.
Yeah. And after I walked from the Van Gogh exhibit to House of Blues, mm-hmm. which it's not an insurmountable distance. It's not like I'm walking 20 miles.
Was it like 2 miles?
It's under 2 miles. Okay. Less than 2 miles. But it was enough to ruin me for the rest of the day because of my pinched nerve and all my nerve damage.
It's difficult to move your lower limbs.
Yeah, and I have a 5K this weekend, so that'll be great. Everybody will see me hobbling all week next week because it'll take that long to recover.
Please don't ask Patrick to get up or do anything Wednesday, Friday, or Saturday.
But I'm still doing it.
Week.
I'm still doing it. I'm still doing this 5K. I got it.
Ask.
Still doing everything I can. I have. I'm trying a unique thing on Monday. I have 3 different appointments on Monday with different medical health facilitators.
That's cool.
And I'm trying one entirely on my own. Not suggested by anyone.
Uh-huh.
Immersion therapy.
What is that, like a pool?
Yeah. So I'm very excited for this.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Very excited for this. Anyway, so earlier we talked about how this was like we had to take this trip today for the store, and it's not this was 4.5 hours out of our day.
Yeah.
And this is a day that we both had other things planned.
Sure.
And I was looking forward to doing nothing store related for a day, and nope, this came up.
And I don't want to be like, when it rains it pours, and I don't want to make this sound like it was a bad thing, but I had to get up early to get tickets for AEW.
Well, so not as early as you got up.
Well, stupid AEW lied to me. They said pre-sale started at 9 a.m. Central Time. They specifically said 9 a.m.
That's why you got to listen to
Central
Pro Wrestling
Time.
Tees, my friend.
Well,
that was mine, was PWT.
But, you
Win PWT, that was the code.
You can't risk it.
I know. I know.
What if AEW is right and PWT
I'm appreciative of you getting up and you got exactly the seats you wanted, which is great.
I'm so excited about the seats.
So that's wonderful. But
that was the thing where I was up late Wednesday night
working,
finalizing reorders, and then I got up early Thursday, and then we took the trip out to get the supplies. And then basically as soon as I got home, I ended up reading something, but I was also setting up the iPad.
And doing the Managed Comics.
And I watched the Managed Comics, not live,
Which, Brian,
unfortunately.
it's my fault that Dell was not part of the live version
That's why I
this time.
wasn't active in the chat.
Because I'm the one who sprung this, let's get supplies today on him.
Yeah, and I mean, it was worth doing. One of the things, this isn't a negative, but like I didn't get as much out of this Managed Comics thought stream because like kind of the second half of it was just like, here's why you should have subscription management. It's like, man, I've had subscription management for like 13 years.
Yeah.
Like you don't got to sell me on it. I get it. Like the reason I'm excited about Managed Comics is because it plusses up some of the things that we're already doing with ComicSuite and Pullbox. But I get why that's in there, and I get who it's for. It just wasn't for me. So
yeah, not every thought stream is just for Dell.
Right. So the second half of it was a lot of like, I guess I will start charging this iPad and let me start doing the migration process to get my Apple ID set up.
And honestly, like this is such a busy weekend for us because this is when I can start doing the orders tomorrow.
And it sucks because like you would work on it Saturday night, and Saturday night I got to do FOCs whenever I get home.
Yeah.
And that's going to take a little longer than it normally does. Like the last couple months, I can usually knock out FOCs in under half an hour if I know that you need to use the system. But this is like with PRH, I mean, it's going to be at least an hour.
I mean, I'll start immediately when I get home, and then you can tell me.
I'll just tag
when you need the system, I can log out, and then Sunday I've got the 5K and then family stuff all night. So that's taking away my Sunday night for ordering.
Probably should have finished it Monday night.
We'll see. We'll see how far I get. Yeah. I mean, I'm literally, after we record, I'm going to set up all the editing for this, but then also try to do the back half of the catalog tonight.
There you go.
I was already pulled it down and started it cycling while I was here.
Sure. Good idea.
So the moral of the story that is I feel like I'm always trying to be defensive about this. Like, just because we're off Thursdays doesn't mean we're not working, but this was already 4.5 hours of all the supplies, and then logging reorders and putting things out. Like
we stopped at the store. Yeah.
We did a bunch of work today that I would normally have to do tomorrow, so it makes tomorrow a little bit easier. But I've got other things on the plate tomorrow anyway.
Yeah, assuming stuff shows up.
And then this weekend is packed.
Yeah,
this is the order pack weekend.
Yeah, and
there was something I literally was going to do something also store related Saturday. And I had my phone out. I was starting to text. I'm like, wait, no, you can't. You can't do this Saturday. And I realized, oh my God, if I had done that and booked Saturday, I would just have hung myself.
Do orders until Monday.
Yeah.
They'd be doing a Monday night and Tuesday night.
So I pushed that back to next Saturday. But it's like, okay, that's like literally it's that's so many, like Fridays. When I wake up most normal Fridays, it's like Friday is entirely a Challengers day.
Yeah.
Go to Challengers, work it. Close, come home, podcast, edit. Yeah, all that stuff. And that is the entirety of my Fridays.
I mean, that's how Wednesdays feels like for me. With
all the
reorder process. Is like basically there's a little gap of like a couple, like 2.5, 3 hours.
A dynamite gap.
A dynamite / Marvel gap.
Yeah.
And then right after that, I got to get essentially right back to work.
Yeah.
And, Wednesday's already our longest day.
So, Dal, we have, in theory, something coming up in October to help alleviate this burden.
Did you want to do any of the Marvel giveaway comics, the Halloween Comic Fest, but by a different name comics?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's not what you're referring to, but I know what
definitely not. But what will make the reorder process easier for you?
Managed Comics.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, assuming Managed Comics has the right... Like, there's two things that make it valuable as a change. One is the ability to do it from the cloud, which means I can do it on an iPad, I can do it on my computer at home, I could do it on my phone if I wanted to. That's incredibly valuable to not have to be on the register doing it, which means like you could be on the register and I could do it on the other computer.
Yeah.
Like that would be amazing, or whatever.
I could do ordering if let's say I'm off on a Thursday, I could be doing the order pack Thursday during the day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I could, while you're doing that remotely, I could also remotely be doing the reorders on Thursday if I wanted to.
Every time I open this drawer, I see this little book I paid $50 for.
It's great. The other thing that would be a huge asset is currently the way ComicSuite's set up is it doesn't really export things like UPCs and ISBNs well. Everything is diamond codes.
Yeah. Because
you're uploading it to Diamond, so they need the diamond code. So the ability to have everything in Shopify set up specifically under what distributor we order it from. So it knows this stuff is PRH, this stuff is Hachette, this stuff is Diamond, which you can kind of already do somewhat in RMH. But once it goes to ComicSuite, it just gets aggregated into a Diamond order, and it's like, that's not what we want. The ability to not only have each individual distributor's reorder output individually, but then have things like, hopefully, UPCs, ISBNs in there, so we can export that and then just take that data, upload it directly through PubEasy, through PRH. So you don't have to go in item by item adding things to your cart. You just say, here's the ISBNs, here's the quantities, what do you got?
Get them. Go get them. Fetch.
So
Geek fetch.
All of those things are hopefully what will enable reorders to be a lot more streamlined in our system and give us a lot more flexibility.
Is the Geek Fetch logo like a little cartoon dog with a rolled-up comic in his mouth?
I don't know. You could check.
It could be. I'm giving that to them.
It could be, yeah. Free gift.
I didn't mean to take you off of what you were saying.
I was done. That was it.
Oh, well, guess what? We're done, too. Hopefully, this is a productive weekend for everybody, not just us. Hopefully, we'll all survive, and hopefully, when I'm sitting down to do orders Monday night, I can stand back up again afterwards.
Hopefully.
Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.